Like, it was on the other side of that grass mat. There
You got him?
Yep, I got him. Oh, it's a nice fish too. Over this grass mat. Check out the size of this one. Look at that guy. Look at that stud. If I haven't convinced you guys yet to throw a pink frog, yeah, I don't know what you guys are thinking, but man, check out that nice quality fish. Got a little bit of a scar on her. You guys absolutely choke that frog. Like I said, there's a grass to go. There's a kid, which is crazy because my fishing buddy's fish camp is at Seapoint. Oh boy. Oh man. Ooh, the bottom of the lip. All right, in the corner. Look at that, guys. Another. With frog explosions, like you guys just saw a couple examples of, it is hard not to miss the frog bite. Hey everybody, it's Jay Ball, Blue Days Outdoors, and we're in the middle of December, and I'm still blown away by the frog bite that Dylan Grubb from Extreme Outdoorsman and I, got on. See, content creation. You have mess ups, so just hit the camera. But I'm still blown away at the frog bite that Dylan and I got on up in northern Michigan this year. It was absolutely insane. For those of you who've been following along with me on Instagram and YouTube, we were catching frogs, no joke, or catching bass on frogs probably since the middle of June until the middle of October. It was absolutely insane. And what I want to do with this video is I had a lot of people ask questions, about the pink frog. You guys saw a video earlier about how I make them. If not, I'm going to leave a link to that video up here in the corner so that you guys can actually see that pink frog video, how I make these Googan Squad pink filthy frogs. But what I got asked a lot about is tips and tricks about how I was doing what I was doing in this specific area. So I don't know if this is going to apply everywhere because I was fishing a ton of heavy reeds this year. And I was doing some things, kind of learning trial and error because I'd never done this before, about what to do, how to do it, what my setup is. So I'm going to break down for you guys. We're going to do this in one take, hopefully keep it within under 5 minutes. But yeah, what I want to do real quick is just show you the combo I have, the rod and reel combo, show you some of the baits, and then talk about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So first thing that I'm using is I've got this Lew's TP1 speed stick. Now this is a medium heavy with a moderate action, and I probably could go a little bit heavier, but I'll show you some video clips too throughout this video where I'm taking this pink frog. This is the larger diameter Googan Squad filthy frog, and I'm flipping it back into these reeds, these really super thick, heavy reeds. And as the summer progressed and it got hotter, those fish were farther and farther back. Actually, let me show you some of those fish catches right now, or some of these hookups where, I'm flipping like 10, 15 yards back in these reeds, and I'm actually just watching that frog yo-yo. And that's one of the reasons why I use a pink frog, is I can actually see that frog through the reeds, and I'm just yo-yoing it back inside of there, and the bass would be smashing it. So check out some of these check out a few of these catches and just see how awesome this bite was this summer.
I didn't catch anything.
One way back in there. As soon as they hit the water, he had it. There he is.
Okay.
Summer, especially here in Michigan. I know it's hot. It's 90 degrees out. Water temperature is probably 85.
You're gonna have to do a little bit more of that. It stopped recording.
Oh, he's coming out of there, dude. Come on, baby. That's why I throw a pink frog, guys, in this thick stuff. Look at that. Look at how thick that was. I just flipped way back in there, guys, in no water. And this nice 2.5, maybe 3 pound largemouth was up there. Let's get her back in the water. Nice. Ha. Okay, so now you guys have seen what I was talking about, how far back some of those bass were. But this is, like I was talking about earlier, so this is a Lew's speed stick. It's a 7'3", heavy power, medium heavy power, and I've got this with a Lew's. I think this is a speed spool. It's a 7.5 gear ratio to 1. I'm actually going to change this out. I'm going to switch over to an Abu Garcia rod and reel that I got later in the year. But as far as the line goes, I use 65-pound Power Pro high vis yellow braid. And the reason for that, again, is I can see it. When you're fishing these frogs, especially in heavy vegetation and heavy cover, those fish aren't seeing the braid. So I like to use that yellow braid because I can pinpoint right where that lure is. If you use like a dark green or a black kind of braid, it's really hard to see that, especially when you're fishing that really thick, heavy vegetation. So, that's the rod and reel combo. You want a good heavy duty reel that's going to be able to wench those fish out of there. A lot of those hookups you guys saw, man, I had to just wench them out and just reel down to them. Sometimes I had to stick the nose of the boat in the reeds to get them out. But yeah, that was absolutely epic. And For those of you that didn't see the video on how I make the pink frogs and why I think these pink frogs were being attacked so much by these bass, is these pink frogs I think actually remind a bass of a baby blackbird. In these reeds in northern Michigan, there are hundreds of thousands of blackbirds that nest, and different birds that nest in these reeds. And I think that those fish are keyed in on pink because the baby birds, when they hatch, they're pink. They don't have any feathers, right? So I think that's why these fish are focusing on these pink frogs. So I got onto this pink frog kick probably, I don't know, sometime in July maybe. And what I was using first is I'll show you guys some of these other frogs I was using. And I got to give a shout out to Dylan Grubb from Extreme Outdoorsman because I actually found this Strike King, I think it was this one right here. I found this Strike King Sexy Frog, KVD Sexy Frog, when I was bank fishing 2 years ago. Never used it. And him and I started fishing up north together this year. And he picked this frog out of my box because he didn't have his frogs with him. And we absolutely started destroying them. So you can see I wore these two frogs out catching bass on them this summer. So this is what I started off using. And then I also started using a poppin' frog, a Spro poppin' frog. I use that when it's really windy. And I found that if it's windy and there's a lot of commotion, especially in these reeds, that a poppin' frog worked really good just running out on the outside edge. I might try to show you guys some of those hook sets as well. But yeah, so here's my original frog box. So I got different couple colors, you know, yellows. I've got some bone colored Googan Squad Filthy Frogs in here. But man, I really like that pink frog, and I fished with a couple other content creators this year, and you know, they were throwing like a natural colored frog, and I was throwing behind them, and it was just getting absolutely smashed. And so, you know, that's just my normal frog box, and then I have a specific pink frog box. Yes, I have one. Because the very first frog that I painted pink this year was this Spro frog. And it worked pretty well. It didn't absorb the Spike It dye that I really like using. It didn't absorb it too well, and you can see it kind of wore off, and this thing just got absolutely smashed and destroyed. But here is the very first Googan Squad Filthy Frog that I made. You can see the legs are tore off. It's just, this thing is absolutely train wrecked. I'll try to give you guys a better view of this thing. But yeah, I've had to get a few more of these. Dylan Grubb from Extreme Outdoorsman, he's affiliated with Googan Squad, so he has a promo code. He uses code EXTREME. You save 10% on all your orders. I'll leave that in the description so you guys can check that out. Would really help him out if you guys would, next time you order your Googan baits from Googan.com, if you were to use that promo code. I also have one of these prop frogs as well, these Booyah prop frogs that I dyed pink. So yeah, so I mean, I've got these Lunker Hunter white frogs. I've got some of the KVD Sexy Frogs, the white ones. So that's just kind of a little bit of an overview of the frogs that I have and that I use. And what I also wanted to show you is a quick modification that I do to the frogs. So actually here, I'll do this, show you a comparison. So as you can see, I trimmed the legs on this one, and I trimmed them a little bit offset from one another, so it actually has a little bit better walking action, but I'm not really walking this frog. I'm just flipping it into the reeds and yo-yoing it like I showed you guys. So I will trim the tail down because I want this fish to focus on the hook portion, and if he's focusing back here on the tails, he's probably going to miss the hooks. But one thing that I do too, and my good buddy Manford wanted me to show you guys this, but you can see that the hook gap, okay? So the hooks are pretty parallel with the body of the frog. So what I'll do is I'll bend one of these up and show you just about how far. It's kind of a guess and check, especially when you're fishing the reeds, because if you open the hook gap up too much, the hooks will tend to get stuck on the reeds. So it's kind of like where I open up a little bit more, and then I'll narrow it back down. But hopefully you can see the difference now in the hook gaps, or how high this one's pointed up. So it's pointed more at an upward angle, and this one's down. So that's another modification that I'll do, is to increase that hook set. And I know a lot of guys are boiling these now, which I haven't done yet before, but it makes sense because you want to make that rubber body as pliable as possible. So you can do that. I'll probably give that a try sometime, but I haven't done that just quite yet. So that's pretty much, you know, the breakdown of the frog setup. But I'm going to give you one last major tip and trick that I honestly think, besides the pink frog, was an absolute game changer this year. Now, a lot of you guys know that I'm affiliated with Lure Lipstick, and they've got really good scent products. And I worked with John over at Lure Lipstick for 2 years on a crawfish formula This is the actual R&D crawfish formula. Why it doesn't have a label on it. But putting this crawfish jelly on the frog itself, I didn't put it on the skirt because it smashes the skirt up and doesn't swim right, but I would coat this entire lure with this lure lipstick crawfish jelly. And I honestly think because when you're fishing in between these reeds, there's not a lot of vegetation on the water. So what happens is when that frog hits the water, that jelly, especially as the water warms up, is dissipating through the water. So if there's a fish anywhere near this frog, one, it gets attracted by the sound, and then it sees the pink, and then as it's looking at the frog, that scent, not only from the crawfish, because this has got real crawfish in it, but also the natural fear pheromone that Lure Lipstick puts in all their products, that's raining down on top of them. They have no choice but to hit that lure. And honestly, I think that was probably the biggest reason why I was out fishing most of the people that I fished with this summer, is not only because of the pink frog, but because of this Lure Lipstick crawfish jelly. So I'm going to leave a link to this in the description as well. You guys have got to try this stuff out. Again, this is the R&D bottle. That's why it doesn't have a label on it. But I can promise you this stuff is, whew, it is potent. Again, this is made with real crawfish oil and fear pheromone. But you guys have got to check this out. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this tips and tricks on how I fish my frogs. Again, this is primarily focusing on fishing heavy reeds, maybe not big grass mats or big lily pad flats. I can maybe talk about that a little bit more next year when I start to fish those areas. But this year was a big learning year for me. I never did this kind of frog fishing before. Big shout out to Dylan Grove from Extreme Outdoorsman, because without him, I never would have fished this area of northern Michigan. I just drove by these fish for 2 years. And the first time I took him out there, he's like, we got to fish these reeds. And it was lights out since then. So big shout out to him. I'm really enjoying making content with him. I'll leave, like I said, leave his link in the description of this video so you guys can check it out. But yeah, really do appreciate you hanging out with me, guys. If you like this kind of content, make sure you hit the thumbs up, leave a comment. It really helps drive this stuff through the algorithm. The page is growing pretty steadily. We're getting close to 600 followers, so I can't thank you guys enough for your support. And remember, the easiest way to change your attitude is by showing gratitude. Thanks, and we'll catch you in the water next time.
Got him? Got him off. Check this one out. Look at that. Guys, look at that chunk. Who says you can't catch bass in the dog days of summer on a pink frog, guys? Look at that. Guggen Squad custom-made pink frog. Guys, check out the size of that bass. Good, probably 2.5, maybe 3 pounder. Guys, it's 90 degrees out right now. Manfred and I are sweating our butts off. Water temp